Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, we're all here tonight for the planning commission meeting. We have a new members who's unable to connect, unable to attend the family emergency camp. So
Let me ask you to turn.
hear me?
No.
Hello?
There you go.
I'm not usually speaking.
I know.
Okay. So we have a roll call. So we have the agenda in front of us. We have a motion to accept the agenda. From second. We have the meeting minutes from October 27th. I was not able to attend that meeting. I looked through it. I don't have any comments or updates to it.
I think it was good. I moved to accept the minutes.
I'm good. I'm good. Recording. So a motion to accept the minutes from October 27th.
So moved.
I'll second. Second by Steve. Okay, so, this work for public comment for the next planning commission meeting. Anyone happy to comment?
I guess this is the time now because the agenda is not a public hearing, so I should speak.
Certainly go ahead, Kathy.
Of course, I'm going to speak on behalf of my rezoning application. But first of all, I'd like to say that I would feel bad if you're having this meeting just because of that application, because had I known, I would have just as easily agreed to table it for an extra month until January. So I do appreciate your having the meeting, though. I just didn't see it turning out this way. For the rezoning itself, I did send a letter to the planning commission. I think you all have that. Mayor President.
Well, I just saw it late this evening, so.
Well, I guess to recap, I would kind of like to fill in from where we started maybe in 2018 or 19, proposing the idea of this project up until now. You know, from the beginning, we saw this project as kind of a hybrid between agricultural and residential. And it's been hard the whole time to figure out exactly where to spin this project, you know, which side does it go on? You have two different zoning districts, right? And right now it's the ag zoning district, as you all know. But our project goals were always to have a small community of residents, some of whom were active on the farm, to make it a really integrated community. And to do that, you have to have an effective, viable community. When the number of units seem to be getting smaller and smaller from what we had hoped originally. You might say our hopes were wrong, but when they started getting smaller and smaller, it's like, do we really have the ability to make this a viable enterprise? You know, either socially, because if you only have 9 or 10 units, it's really hard. Or agriculturally, if you're doing diverse, sustainable agriculture, it actually requires more labor than a lot of conventional agriculture does. So I was just out there today with a couple with 2 small kids who are interested in this. You can tell, you know, again, a lot of part-time farmers who might be interested, right? And they are one of them, probably. There is a lot of interest. There's way more interest than the 9 or 10 units. As things went by, we worked through the open space ordinance, right? And that's turned into a form where we can at least get the basics of what we want to do with it. I think. So I'm happy to see that at the end of a long process, but there are a lot of uncertainties with it. There are uncertainties about whether the yard sizes and the road right of way are going to be reduced, because that is left in the hands of the planning commission during the site plan review process. So right now, we don't know if the planning commission would entertain any relaxation of those standards or not. Part of the reason why I'm keeping the rezoning open, or I want to pursue the rezoning, is because the rezoning will give us some relief right off the top. It's kind of due to the uncertainty. And then the other thing, of course, is the number of lots. Going up from 9 or 10 to 12 doesn't sound like a big deal. This is a very mild rezone. In reality, it's actually closer to ag than it is to LR. Compared to the other rezoning that you guys have dealt with, which I would characterize as rather extreme. It feels like on the other end of the spectrum, it's really a mild thing. If you consider the two conditions, I hope you're all aware of what the two conditions are that were attached to rezoning. That was the original application. One is that the number of units are capped at 12, no matter what. The other one is 50% land preservation, which mimics the open space ordinance. That's the signal that we're going to use the open space ordinance. And of course, we're going to preserve half land regardless. Right? I think it fits with the master plan very well, because extremely well, because the master plan designates in the future land use actually three zoning districts that are compatible: ag, LR, and I think SR1 is the other one. This project actually straddles the line between ag and LR. And with the conditions on the rezoning, you can see that the project itself will in fact straddle the line. It just turns out that LR is a little bit more of what we need to make the project viable. So that's why I'm requesting it. And I hope that you may consider reviewing the master plan in that light. I know the master plan is under consideration for changes. But that's another matter. Thank you very much.
Okay, Patrick, thank you for your comment. Is there any other public?
By the way, can I just before I understand you have multiple choices of what you might do here. If you want to ask me any questions during the process, about approving, rejecting, tabling, or modifying the conditions, which is possible too, just let me know, and I'm very happy. But
Yes.
I won't say anything.
We'll get into that. We'll get stuff.
Yeah, I won't say anything unless called on.
Yeah. Is there any other,
I'm Dan Russell.
Dan Russell?
The master plan. I like the shrunk down deck. That's better. I love it. The master plan zoning, yeah, all right. It might support some of that. There's a lot of parts of the master plan that also don't support that. So having said that, what I've noticed since I started coming to these meetings years ago was that it seems like the end of the process is when we start talking about the criteria in which you vote on whether this thing should be approved or not approved, and not just Patrick's project. Frankly, if this would have been considered a whole lot earlier in some of the other project talks, we probably could have saved a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of aggravation on both the board, commissions, the lawyers, and the applicants part. Because we sort of wait to the end, it seems like, to go, this really doesn't fit. And it seems like we wait to the end to sort of talk about that. So I would entertain that when something like Patrick's project comes up, or if it's something over on Pierce Road, whatever it was, if that would be one of the first items that we talk about, this sort of list of criteria that we use. It seems like that would save everyone a lot of heartache. So it would be fantastic if we could try that out tonight and just go through these things with this project, and I'd love to hear that open discussion. So.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Russell. Does anyone else have any comments? Okay, we're going to close public comment. So the next item on the agenda is the unfinished business. This is this table from September 22nd, 2022, October 6th, and October 27th was consideration of the rezoning request that Patrick was speaking about previously. Based upon discussion with the attorney, Patrick, you've got two choices tonight. You can table it, It's just so we can't table, we can vote on it, or you can withdraw it, and you can resubmit it with the new site plan.
You'd like to know my opinion on it.
No, I'm giving you those are your two choices.
I'm not gonna withdraw it. I do believe that you could actually discuss the condition, but I know that
We have to repost with the site plan and all the other legalese to those associated with it. Carol can share more, but we have communication from attorney for all that. We
Well-
can't consider that.
you do what you think is best.
And we have to follow the rules of law there.
Oh, yes, and I discussed it with my attorney too, so I also know what I'm talking about, but when you decide what you will do.
Well, I just gave, so you first to go through with the review of the standards. And then make a recommendation on the condition of rezoning. As presented on the 22nd.
I believe you went through the review of standards once before. Of course, you're welcome to go through it again as you wish. I'm only saying that, I'm not going to withdraw it.
Okay, that's
If you think you have only one other choice, then go ahead.
those are the two choices. So let's pull up standards of review. Everyone have the communication from Mr. Malcolm. We have the communication. The staff analysis report, Carol. Okay, so the request for the rezoning is supported by the 2017 Sullivan Township Master Plan, identifying areas low density and residential for future use. It's one of our review criteria. So this proposal does fit within the designated land use in the future. Well, residential is in the talking about. Begin, correct, that was one of my problems I had with it to begin with. Was, I guess I'm stuck at 10 more so than anything else. When we first started this, we were talking major bonuses and stuff, and I wasn't fond of that at all, and I thought we were gonna or get in there, we could just cluster them more and go with it that way versus more residential. That's my big stick on it. Okay.
I'm usually quiet. So my biggest concern is starting a precedent of zoning ag zone land to low density residential with an exception. It does not have contiguous surrounding low density residential. And as a farmer, as somebody who sees more and more development and more subdivisions, and I work in trade, international trade, I see a risk of zoning ourselves out of food security, not just in this township, like it's a bigger issue than just this township. I understand people need the opportunities to farm and this may be one, but I feel like we need to maintain ag zoning for ag production. Otherwise, we're setting ourselves up for issues in the long run. And that is a personal opinion, but also I think it's from a law standpoint, it is protecting our food security.
Okay. Second of the review standards is compliance with the master plan. The first one was considered all proposed use of zoning, but it also does apply with what is in the master plan currently for future use. Third condition, consistency with zoning in the general area. And I think part of this, it's primarily an ags area. The drop for the low residential, low density residential in the city doesn't really fit with the kind of land use.
Right.
Leo?
Well, I kind of have to agree with Tom. I have I think the lesser. Houses the better. And I'm concerned about the traffic down that road. It's gonna add to that.
Well, I'm having a hard time hearing everybody, so I couldn't hear Tom's comment at all.
Well, I'll restate that. I guess
Okay.
I'm stuck on the, how many parcels we can have on it, I think.
Okay,
How many houses? That was my biggest sticking point from day one. When we were talking about bonuses, whatever.
yeah, but we're not doing, we're not doing that.
Yeah, we're just.
I understand that, but that was my bigger stick. I'm getting back to where I'm going with this.
Okay,
I think he could put 10, if he could put 10 houses on 20 acres, that's, and would let him cluster it, have a private road. I think that's enough right there instead of giving more lots out. One person's opinion.
I agree with,
So the third one was consistency with zoning in the general area. So talk about that, Steve, anyone?
No, I think it is more of an ag zoning in the area, what I've seen in Conway Road.
Then the fourth standard review is consistency with compatibility for general use patterns in the area. I think we talked about that, it's being primarily an agricultural district. Does anyone have any other comments or questions they'd like to bring up on that?
so if he just stays with ag, then he can have 10 point something houses. That's a question. Okay,
That's how I understood it.
okay.
This review standard is suitability of proposed uses in the zoning district. The higher density zoning in the area would not be contingent with other parcels within the Conway Road area, which are generally 2+ acres. So I think that's another point of consideration. 6th point of consideration is the adequacy of public services.
Public services.
Yeah, there's none.
So it would have to be a community well and community septic as they're asking. So
Well, not necessarily, but I think the review standard is adequate system of transportation, sewage disposal, adequate water supplies, education, recreation, and other requirements. It's, I don't think in this case the public services over maybe the way this would be a major concern. So traffic is another review standard, which I guess one of the other notes that's in the staff report is the number of homes that can put on this parcel may be subject to the Land Division Act, shared driveway ordinance, or possibly the OSPD ones adopted. So I guess as I look at the staff report, the OSPD is probably a better mechanism for going down this development path. For us right now, we're just looking at the zoning of the land in general, so we really can't consider it. It's, we're looking at the property, and it goes with it forever. Okay. The 8th review point is reasonable use under current zoning classification. It's set up for ag, it's being used as that. We don't see any major risk associated with that. The 9th one is identifiable public need. I know there's certainly a discussion about affordable housing or housing in the area and high cost, so there are certainly issues associated with that. I don't know. Courtney, you might have comments or thoughts on that.
got Sylvan Estates for affordable housing.
How does this qualify as affordable housing?
Well, we talked about identifying public needs, so one of the things we're that was, bring your more housing to the area, so.
Oh,
So I think we have to kind of look at it in light of the ability for housing in the area. I know we've got a lot of development going, so we do have other means of housing in the general vicinity, so.
Silver Crossing is expanding.
Yeah.
I heard it one time, but,
Sure looks like there's a lot of spaces there.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Whole new wing, another 50%, it's like, man.
The 10th review standard is diminution value. I don't see how this could devalue the project. And then the 11th standard is citizen opposition. So this one I don't see any very citizen opposition. Well, those are the review stickers. So I'd like to, Courtney, how would you like, what is your thoughts on taking this forward to low density?
I'm not in favor. That's all we- what else would I mention?
Tom? I'm not in favor of it. I'm not alone. Sandy?
Could you repeat what everybody is referring to?
Yes, we're basically the question is the position of the board in regards to rezoning this low density residential as proposed by.
So according to what the information from Patrick, that would change the housing units from 10 to 12.
So all we're looking at is rezoning the land to.
Yes.
To the agriculture, to low density residential. That's really the only thing we consider. It's part of it.
So, but if he's doing this as a part of, using part of the property to preserve. I'm not sure why this is like a problem.
It's. We're looking at the request that we're voting on.
Yeah.
Is, you have to look at it from the original legal perspective, what was submitted, okay? And that was just to rezone this land to low density residential. There's no site plan, there's no site.
There were two conditions.
Public comments not open.
You're misstating back, I was gonna get you into the front.
So,
Sandy can't hear it, she's sitting there. We can't hear back here the discussion that's happening. I thought this was supposed to be recorded. And I would like to be able to hear what's being discussed and things that are raised and important issues. I very much appreciate that. I'm sorry to interrupt. Thank you.
no, that's fine, thank you.
It's being recorded, Rod.
But
So go ahead, Sandy.
it being recorded.
Yes, myself. So he wants. I guess I have a question for Patrick, more than for us. Which is that he wants to add 2 more dwellings, which would then make it more, okay.
Right, that is part of the original, as I read it, part of the original proposal.
Okay,
So rezoning with the only contingency of 9 to 12 homes.
okay,
But there was no site plan.
Right, no site plan.
There's no site plan, we can only consider the changing the zoning to low density residential.
And then the second part was they were saying they would keep 50% designated for not building, basically, and that'd be part of the deed forever. So that was the second point, right?
okay. I don't really have a problem with that.
And I think if we go back to the original, we had maps and we looked at the zoning of surrounding areas, and there are 40 acres to, I can't remember the direction, but basically, I think to the west. That are currently ag, and then there's development on the other side. So looking at it from a farmer perspective. If we zone low density residential on either side of that 40 acres, the owner may not change, but at some point. It will become developed, which whether that's the case or not, if that's what we want or not, that's part of the master plan. But that's something to look at. Is it spot zoning? Is it? Something outside of what we're actually allowed to do with the master plan. Because it's not just what he's planning may be completely fantastic, but it's the precedent that it sets.
I'm sorry, say that last part.
It's the precedent that it sets.
You know, I went to a class on planning and they said, do never use the word precedent, because every case that you get, you have to look at afresh. You can't look back and say, this happened and this might happen.
I guess
So-
that's fair. I tend to look at things from a policy and law standpoint, because that's my background.
Okay. Clear. Anything else, Sandy?
Nope.
No, I just sort of see it vague,
Zach,
the same.
everybody have a motion? Recommend to the township board that this proposal be in line with the land stays of agriculture.
I make a motion that the land remains zoned ag.
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please. Sandy?
No,
Yes,
Chair votes yes.
Yes.
So the motion passes 5-1. Next on the agenda for tonight. New business approval of 2023 planning commission meeting. I think that was in the packet. Does anyone have issues with the dates as proposed? Caroline, new communications?
Yeah, well, Sandy has, so I'll let her
I have a
discuss.
couple of things. Are we
Okay,
down to
yeah.
that already? Okay, so I gave each of you a copy of an article about, solar and wind. So that's something that our attorney advised us to be thinking about or adding to when we do the master plan. So we've made a communication with, so this is just information for you. So, we communicated with Carlisle Wortman to see if they could help us with the master plan as they did last time. And they said yes. So, they need to send their staff person to one of our meetings to talk to us about what it is that we want to do, so that they can't give us an estimate of what the cost will be until they know what they want us to do. So maybe January?
We've had inquiries in the township about solar farms, haven't we?
Solar farms, but more importantly, we have residential. It's so if I can jump into this,
Sure.
about what the board approved at their last meeting is, they're gonna get some cost estimates and ask the consultant who assisted with the OSPD to assist the planning commission and charge the planning commission with working on 3 ordinances. You wanna talk about it, Sandy?
The solar and wind and solar Lake District
And administrative review.
administrative review for the lakes.
Well, it
is that
isn't just
for the
lakes,
lakes?
administrative,
It's just,
it's an example, it would cross planning commission and ZBA. ZBA met last night and we had one of the most simplest projects that I felt bad that these people had to come before and pay $575 to replace their deck. And they had to replace their deck because two things, they didn't have 1 acre. And the second reason was I couldn't issue a zoning compliance permit to replace it. Because it was never, it was not a legal deck. They never got a building permit for it. So when people don't get a building permit for something and then they wanted to replace it. If it's a ZBA issue, then they have to come before a ZBA. Administrative review would assist with that. It would be not just my call. It would be 3 people would be reviewing the project and then making a determination. Does this need to go before the planning commission or ZBA? Or can we just administratively sign off on this? Same with, basically simple, amendments to a site plan. If they're changing something on the site plan, if it's a minor amendment, they shouldn't have to come before the planning commission again.
I think when we had our joint meeting with the ZBA and the board, that the ZBA chair thought that was a great idea.
Yeah.
If you've been to a ZBA meeting, it is. It's like one story problem after another, but some of that doesn't have to, as Carol said, doesn't have to generate the resident, the homeowner having to pay. When you have a board who are, I mean, there's some common problems that come up all the time, and that's what that. Administrative review board would look at, and they know what those are, because they do them over and over and over.
Anything else?
That's it for me.
Anyone else comment or concern? So like, it's like the next meeting agenda is gonna be the 25th. 2023 in January.
Oh,
There's no new items on the agenda at this point in time, so 7:32, I guess we'll
Wait.
adjourn.
did we decide that we wanted Carlisle Wortman to come to the January meeting?
I believe you already, I thought they was already, they're coming as a 2 minutes.
That's, I'm asking, is that okay?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry, it's not like they're coming, it's like, is that okay?
That's against.
Okay.
More. Anything else? Meeting's adjourned, thank you.